Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of June 4th through 10th. Today is Saturday, June 10th. So, this week was pretty productive. I've got quite a few things read, so I did a few rereads this week. I've also got a couple other reads to talk to you about, plus catch you up on what I am currently reading. I have a small knitting update to share with you, and I have a very small yarn haul. So let's get into it. Let's start with what I read this week first. So right off the top here, I have Our Dining Table. This is a one-shot BL manga. Story and art by Mita, published by 7Seas. This is rated teen. So this is a very wholesome BL romance where we follow a guy who has a not so great family life, and he also has issues having meals with others. He tends not to be very conversational, and people don't enjoy having meals with him because he doesn't converse. He doesn't make mealtime fun. So a lot of the time he ends up getting something and eating it at a park until one day a little boy crosses his path and he ends up sharing his meal with the little boy. And then the little boy's older brother finds him, and the little boy tells his brother, "Oh my gosh, this is the best rice ball onigiri that I've ever had. Why don't yours taste like this?" And so eventually they ask our character to come to their home and teach them his secret. And he's like, "Oh, I don't make it any different from anybody else, but okay." And so the story follows him teaching this brother how to make the rice balls and, giving him little tips and tricks, and eventually they bond. And it's a really, really sweet story. This was a reread for me. I absolutely loved this. It was just so sweet and wholesome with the addition of the little brother. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. There's a bit of a storyline of loss as well in this story. And we also get some additional chapter material at the end where there's a little bit of a time skip. And it just a really, really great, wholesome romance, and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend this one. I gave this one 5 stars again. My rating on this did not change from the first time that I read it. And yes, so I used this for the Manga Pride Readathon bingo board for the one-shot box. So yes, really, really recommend this one. I loved it. 5 stars. So then I worked on a project. So this is a project that came about because I had heard some controversy about this particular book and it being plagiarized from a manga that I had previously read. And I found out about the controversy after I had finished reading the manga for the first time. And I had always wanted to check out the book and see what my feelings were on it. Since that whole controversy had come up, the author has actually acknowledged now that he did take inspiration from this manga series. But yeah, he didn't prior to being called out on it. So that kind of took me off a little bit. But I still wanted to see what my thoughts were on his book. So it's been a couple years since I had originally read the manga, and so I thought now was a good time to revisit both the manga and see what this book was about, because my initial reaction to what had happened was so strong that I didn't think I would be able to objectively read his book. So the book that I read was Date Me, Bryson Keller by Kevin Van Whye. This book is about our main character named Kai, and he goes to this school where one of the most popular boys in school dates a girl for a week and then dumps her at the end of the week. And it's kind of known now that every Monday, Bryson Keller is available to be asked out. Kind of on a whim, Kai asks Bryson out, and this book follows their relationship for the week and things that happened during that week that end up changing both of their lives. The manga that this book took inspiration from was 7 Days, Monday through Sunday. This is a story by Venio Tachibana, art by Rihito, Takarai, and this is published by Sublime, rated teen. So this story follows a high school student who goes to a school where there is a guy who is notorious for being a week-long lover. He'll date the first girl to ask him out on Monday and then promptly dump her by the following Monday. And this manga follows our guy character who asks out this other guy character, Toji. His name is Toji in here, is the one who goes out on dates every week to date him, and this follows their relationship throughout the week and how things that happen throughout the week end up changing both of their lives. I'm going to go ahead and just pop the pictures up here so I can talk about them together, because I don't think I can talk about them separately without sounding repetitive. That's how close Date Me Bryson Keller is to 7 Days as far as the premise goes. So I, like I said, read 7 Days 2 years ago for the first time and thought it was, again, one of the most sweetest, wholesome stories I have read. I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it, and upon reread, my rating for this did not change. I really, really enjoyed the story. It's super sweet. It's super wholesome. And I just really enjoyed watching our two guys date for the week and develop feelings for each other, and watching that heartache start to come out once their time was getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And it was just one of the best things that I had read at the time. And I still really, really enjoy the story. Like I said, my rating did not change. I really, really enjoyed my reread of 7 Days. Now, Date Me Bryson Keller. I would call Date Me Bryson Keller a retelling of 7 Days. The main premise is the same. How we get from A to B to C to D in Date Me Bryson Keller, though, is different. Even though points A, B, C, and D are the same in 7 Days, the things that are in between are different. For one, the story has been Americanized. We're dealing with 2 boys in America. In 7 Days, both of our characters are on the archery team. That's how they know each other. In Date Me Bryson Keller, both boys are in the same drama class. One of them is on a sports team, but the other one is not. And it's just like things like that are different. However, in both stories, we have a character who dates somebody for a week and then promptly dumps them. In 7 Days, it's a full week. In Date Me Bryson Keller, it's a business week. So he only dates from Monday through Friday. In 7 Days, the characters have gone out on relationships with women, but they have just never had that spark. In Date Me Bryson Keller, our main character Kai knows that he's gay, but he's closeted. He doesn't ask Bryson out on a date because he's interested in him. It's for a different reason. And the reason between 7 Days and Date Me Bryson Keller is different. But regardless of that, the main point is the 2 boys end up dating. One of the boys has this reputation for dating somebody for a week and then dumping them. In both stories, we follow what happens with our couple throughout the week. We follow them both realizing that each has feelings for the other, and then realizing that their time with each other is growing short, and what's going to happen after their time is over. We get a lot more family stuff that comes up in Date Me Bryson Keller than we do in 7 Days. 7 Days, it really focuses more on our two guys and their relationship. With Date Me Bryson Keller, obviously because there's a lot more pages that can fill in more of that stuff, we get family time with Kai. We get family time with Bryson. And we find out how their families react to their relationship. In 7 Days, it's much more time with our couple and how they feel separately towards each other, and we see how their feelings change and things like that. So there are differences. There are definitely differences, but the main points are still there. So I think I would consider this a retelling because it is the basic premises, but the things that happen in between are different. Now, I'm very, very conflicted because I did enjoy Date Me Bryson Keller. I listened to it entirely on audiobook, borrowed from my library. The narration was very, very good. There were definite things about Kai that I didn't enjoy. With Kai, he is biracial, and he tends to whine a lot about that fact. He brings it up several times about how it's disadvantageous towards him, and I couldn't identify with that. Now, I'm triracial, so the things that he was complaining about, I've definitely experienced in my life, but I have never complained like he did about it. Like, I felt like he was very whiny about it, and I did not like that about him. But on a whole, I did enjoy Date Me Bryson Keller. But because I feel like this is a retelling of 7 Days, I'm uncomfortable with it, because how long should a work be out before you write a retelling on it? A lot of the retellings that we have out right now are retellings of fairy tales, stories that are very old, have been out for a long time. 7 Days was originally published in Japan in 2007. When it was published in America, I believe Tokyo Pop had the license, and that was in 2015. The version that I have is the one that's published by Sublime, and that was published in 2019. I don't know when the version that Kevin Van Whye read had been published. But even if we go with when it was originally published in English, say by Tokyo Pop, I believe Kevin Van Whye is South African though, so I don't know, like, again, if there was a different version published by someone else, another publishing company that he had read then, if he read an unofficial copy, or how he read 7 Days the first time. But let's just say that he read a copy published by Tokyo Pop back in 2015. When Date Me Bryson Keller came out, it came out in 2020. So that's 5 years between when it was translated to English to when Date Me Bryson Keller was published. And to me, that doesn't seem like a long enough time to be publishing a retelling of a story. Even if we go back to 2007, when 7 Days was originally published in Japanese, that's 13 years in between. And I don't feel like that's long enough either. So I'm very, very conflicted about how this came about. I don't know the specifics of it. All I know is that when it originally was released, he did not acknowledge that he drew inspiration from 7 Days. And after backlash because of it, there is now a notation stating that there's inspiration from 7 Days. So yeah, I'm really, really conflicted about this piece of work. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a sweet story. I didn't enjoy it as much as 7 Days for sure, but even though I enjoyed it, I'm very conflicted with how this work came into being and how it was published and how the author did not state that he drew inspiration from 7 Days immediately. And yeah, just the whole way it went down, I did not enjoy that. And like I said, I'm very conflicted with the amount of time that has passed from when 7 Days originally was published in Japan to when this book came out. I don't think there was enough time for a retelling to have been made. So personally, I do not agree with the fact that something like this came out in the amount of time that it did, but the story was very entertaining. It's held the same vibes that I got from 7 Days, but I didn't enjoy it as much as 7 Days. So I definitely recommend that you read 7 Days. It is one of my favorite BL stories in existence at the moment that I have read anyway. I'm still expanding my knowledge of BL stories and reading more and more and more. But if you are interested in Date Me Bryson Keller at all, read 7 Days first. And then read Date Me Bryson Keller. And see what you think. Because I'd be interested to know. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. I've only seen the back and forth on the Goodreads page on people's reviews. And I'm not really one to be controversial. So, yeah, I'm very uncomfortable with how this came about. But I did enjoy Date Me Bryson Keller. I definitely recommend 7 Days over Date Me Bryson Keller. But if you're going to read Date Me Bryson Keller, read 7 Days first, and then read Date Me Bryson Keller. And let me know what you think if you've read both, because I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts on that whole situation. But anyway, 7 Days, 5 stars. Date Me Bryson Keller, 3 stars. And then to finish out my week, I read volumes 1 and 2 of 10 Count by Rihito Takarai. This is also published by Sublime, rated mature. So, as I mentioned, Rihito Takarai illustrated 7 Days. So, in this one, Rihito Takarai does both the story and the art. I first read 10 Count, I believe it was during the very first Manga Pride readathon, so this was a reread for me. This story is about a guy who is a germaphobe, and he has a job as like a secretary to the president of this company. And one day, our main character, what is his name? Shirotani, crosses paths with a man named Kurose when the president of his company gets saved by Kurose from a possible really terrible accident. So the president gets injured and ends up being in the hospital, but Shirotani and Kurose meet, and Kurose is a counselor, and he immediately notices that Shirotani has OCD. We can see Shirotani's germophobic tendencies. Even just in talking to him for a few minutes, he notices that Kurose wears gloves and that he obsessively washes his hands because his hands are bleeding through the gloves type of thing. And so he kind of offers to help Shirotani work through his issues. And so they start having coffee, I'm going to say dates, but they're not dating. At least not through these chapters. Coffee dates. Just kind of like meeting at a coffee shop and chatting. And through these chats, Kurose tells Shirotani, make a list of 10 things from what you think might be easiest for you to do, like touching a doorknob without your gloves on, to the hardest thing that you don't think you'll ever be able to do. And so they kind of work through this list as like a 10-step program. And so that's kind of what this story follows, is Shirotani working through his germophobic tendencies with Kurose and trying to overcome them, I guess. Like I said, I read Volume 1 during the Manga Pride Readathon. I believe it was the very first Manga Pride Readathon because it came up as a host favorite. And I enjoyed the first volume, but it wasn't one where I was just like, okay, let me get into the next one immediately. So just recently, I obtained Volume 2. And Volume 1 is very, very, like, wholesome. We're basically just following them going on these coffee dates, and there's a little bit of conflict here and there, but there's nothing, like, mature about Volume 1. Volume 2, however, sexual content comes in Volume 2, and it's a little bit questionable for me, the way things go down, because there are times where Shirotani says no or to stop and Kurose doesn't. But then Kurose will ask for permission to do something and Shirotani will say yes or agree to it. So, yeah. I like seeing them like work through these steps. Sexual content for me, not so much. But I don't enjoy sexual content in most everything that I read. In fact, I could do without it. But I do enjoy seeing our characters interact with each other. They're starting to realize that they have feelings for each other. I would say by the end of Volume 1, definitely in Volume 2, they're kind of confirming their feelings for each other. There are definite things that have happened in both of our characters' backstory that we get just small blips of insight into, but we don't know the whole story, and I'm very interested on that because I feel like Shirotani's OCD stems from that, or there's something that traumatic that has happened to him that has caused him to be this way. And in this volume, we just get a little blip of something that's happened in Kurose's past, but I don't know, like, in what context we're seeing that little blip in. So I'm very curious about their backstories. I am enjoying their journey going through the list, but I'm just not enjoying the other stuff, you know, the extra spicy stuff. So, yeah. I will probably pick up Volume 3 when I'm at the Barnes & Noble for the Monochrome Manga Club, if it's there. But it's not one of those ones where, oh my gosh, I have to immediately pick up the next one. This one's just okay for me. I think I probably will still give this one 4 stars because I think once I read through the entire series, I think this will be a series that I will get the whole thing eventually. I know my friend Bizarre Individual really, really likes this series. But I think after I read all of the volumes, there are going to be things I'm going to want to revisit in these previous volumes because of the little like hints of things in the past that have come up. So yes, I'm very curious about those things. And yeah, both of these I gave 4 stars. I'm teetering on the 3.5. Which basically means I wouldn't read it again, but I think with the little blips of their past coming up in here, I would want to read it again. So that's why I'm giving them 4 stars, but this is definitely not one of those series where I'm like really anxious to get to the next volume. So yeah, the art style is definitely different from 7 Days. In fact, let me hold up 7 Days. You can kind of see there are definite differences in the way the characters look. So So I'm enjoying that as well. They're much more pure and wholesome here, much cuter, which is much more appropriate for a high school student. And then we have our adults here. So yes, it's interesting enough that I want to continue, but volume 2 definitely had some questionable things in there that I'm not real comfortable with. So yeah, I know that can happen sometimes with BLs. There are definitely things that can come up that will be uncomfortable for me as far as consent issues go. But I know that's a thing that comes up quite a bit. But so far, I'm okay, even though I am feeling uncomfortable with what happened a couple times in the second volume. But yeah, in any case, I'm enjoying revisiting some old favorites, continuing with a series that I would say I'm enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to reading more stuff from the Manga Pride Readathon in the coming week. So I used 7 days for the bingo board prompt of rereading a favorite. And then I used 10 count for reading something with an orange cover, because I would say that's a light orange. And then for this one, I think I used it for a yaoi or BL title. So I am doing good with the bingo board. I think I've read 6 volumes so far. I think it's 6. So I haven't even gotten close to a bingo, but I think I have something on at least every line right now. I've got a couple lines that have 2. So I'm pretty happy with how I'm doing for the Manga Pride Readathon. So I'll continue to read some more LGBTQIA plus titles over the next week, and then check in with you about those next week. I am currently still reading The House of Earth and Blood. I'll pop up a picture because I did not bring out the book. I'm still currently buddy reading The House of Earth and Blood with my friend Amy from A-Star Reads. We are on chapter, or at least I am on chapter 18 right now. I know just before I started filming, I checked in with Amy and she was already on chapter 20, I think. So I need to catch up, but it's about 200 pages in. I am feeling much more comfortable about where we are in the story at the moment. The pacing is much better for me, and we're starting with the investigation. So I think from here on out, I'm going to be in a much better place than I was earlier in this book, and I'm really enjoying conversing with Amy on the chapters as they go by. It's been really, really fun, and I'm looking forward to conversing with her even more and finding out about the investigation and what our characters find out throughout. So yes, really enjoying that so far. So that's everything that I've read this week and am currently reading. And so now let's get into my small knitting update. And as you saw from the thumbnail, I did finish one of my Demon Slayer socks. So I'm calling these my Demon Slayer socks because the colorway is Demon Slayer from the Anime Yarn Club from Hawari Bazaar. This is the May 2022 colorway, and is based on the Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba first volume. I believe she pulled inspiration of the colors from the very first volume cover. And so I always get the sock set because I make a pair for myself and I make a pair for my daughter. And so with the sock set, that gives us enough yarn for 2 pairs. And so what I did was I did a 1x1 rib, 3x1 broken rib, a square heel turn, so a regular slip stitch heel flap, square heel turn, gusset, and then my lightning toe. And so yeah, really, really happy with how this came out. And I figured that all of my anime yarn clubs are going to have this 3x1 broken rib look, just so that they're all kind of the same, since they're all like yarn club colorways. And yeah, I am not sure if all of the yarn clubs are going to look like this or not, but this one obviously striped a bit. This side has a little bit of a thicker, like purpley-ish stripe, but this side has a little bit of a thicker greenish stripe, and that's just because of the gusset. But we got right back on track with the thinner stripes down the foot, and I'm not mad about it. It still looks great to me. I'm very, very happy with how this looks. So let me just show you the cakes of yarn before I put that away. So the Demon Slayer yarn caked up looks like this. Again, it's the Whye Bazaar Anime Yarn Club for May 2022, and my coordinating mini skein looks like this. So I will cast on the second sock soon, hopefully tonight, because I'm really enjoying this pair at the moment. And yeah, that's everything that I knit on. And then I have a small yarn haul, like I said, and it is actually an anime yarn club from Whye Bazaar. So this is the May 2023 yarn club installation, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and that is the base that she used for all of the anime yarn clubs. And this one is Fairy Tail. Absolutely had to have Fairy Tail because Fairy Tail is one of the series that we have read and enjoyed. We also watched the anime, and so yes. So this drew inspiration from the cover of the very first volume of Fairy Tail. So got the prominent beige color from the cover of Fairy Tail, and then we've got all of the colors of our main team. And so we've got the yellow for Lucy, the red for Natsu, and I guess you could say Urza as well. And then we've got the blue for Gray. And then we've got a really, really dark navy for the coordinating mini. Yes, I really, really like this one. And we really enjoyed Fairy Tail, so I'm very happy with this skein. I did not pick up the June skein because I believe it's Horimiya, and I have no knowledge of that series. I've never read it. If there's an anime, I haven't watched it, and I know nothing about it. So I typically only pick up the anime yarn clubs that I either have knowledge of, like their series that I want to read or have read and enjoyed. So that's kind of like my stipulation for purchasing these yarn clubs. And so yeah, I am very, very happy with all of the colorways that I've gotten, even though I haven't I haven't knit up any of them except for the Demon Slayer one. So I need to work on that, because I think I've been purchasing these yarn clubs now for at least a year or two. It might be two. I missed out on the first couple. I know the very first one I had heard about was Inuyasha, and I missed out on that one for sure. And like I said, I only purchased them when I know of the series and enjoyed it and have actually had some kind of experience with it. So I have a collection. I definitely have a collection. And I know there are a couple of ones that I purchased because I want to read those series and just didn't want to miss out on those colorways. And so, yeah, very, very happy with these. If you're an anime or manga lover and you also craft, crochet, knit something with yarn, I definitely recommend these because I've been very, very happy with every one of them that I have purchased. So, yeah, that's everything that I've read, everything I've knit on. Not everything I've purchased, but as far as yarn and bookish purchases go, that's everything that has come in this week. We're continuing our Fast and Furious movie marathon. So we watched Fast 5 last night. Really enjoyed that. We're kind of doing a ranking of the movies. After hearing my friend Shannon over at Shannon Riddler talk about her exploration of the series, she's also watching through the series in chronological order, or at least release order. I've just recently found out that there is a chronological order you can watch these movies in. So the next time we rewatch through the series, we'll go through that. but we're watching in release order. And so Shannon's also doing this right now, and she's ranking the movies as she watches them. So I thought that might be fun for me to do as well. So we'll compare and contrast when we're both done, and I think that will be fun. But I enjoyed Fast 5. I think we're gonna watch Fast and Furious 6. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, really enjoyed it. Definitely looking forward to watching the rest of them. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that I have for this week. So let me know down in the comments below what you've read this week. Have you really enjoyed something this week? If so, let me know what it was down in the comments below. Do you plan on reading 7 Days or Date Me Bryson Keller? I'd love to know that as well. And if you have read either of them, let me know your thoughts on the whole situation, because I'd like to know that as well. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a blue heart emoji for lots of blue things that I have shown you in this episode, and just for all of the BL manga that I enjoyed this week, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.